Hello everyone, welcome to the Ranting Shop. It's me, Melissa, and today I just decided to speak a little bit about the Met Gala. The Met Gala 2021. I'm gonna discuss some of the fashions. Of course, I cannot do everyone. I don't want to do everyone. I chose to speak on looks that I thought were very interesting, very avant-garde, very high fashion that people didn't quite understand, and I'm gonna try to break it down as far as how I saw or how I interpreted their look. So the theme for the Met Gala this year was In America, a lexicon of fashion. So that essentially meant that could be interpreted in several different ways, and that is exactly what we saw. We saw a mashup of various looks, and I just wanted to highlight some of them. So we're gonna start with Naomi Osaka. And Naomi Osaka, if we don't know, she's half Japanese, half Haitian. And what I noticed from her gown was that it looked very similar to a Japanese kimono. Everything down to the hair was giving me very much Japanese traditional cultural gowns, cultural hair. And another thing she did was she added this black shawl to the gown that I suppose show resemblances to Haitian fashion, Haitian traditional gowns, such as the quadrille or the carabella dress, and basically looked as if it was a Haitian Japanese fusion. And was it executed in the best way? I'm not quite sure, but it did make a very outstanding look, and a lot of people were really trying to understand what the dress was all about. But it was essentially a Japanese and Haitian fusion dress, paying homage to her multiculturalism. And we all know that America is indeed a melting pot of various cultures, and she's just symbolic of that. And so she decided to make it into fashion. They were like, let's make multiculturalism fashion, and that's essentially what she did. So let's move on to Rihanna's gown. A lot of people were saying that they don't quite understand Rihanna's gown. She didn't bring it this year, but I feel like she brought it this year. I just feel like I understood the theme. Like, the moment I saw what she was wearing, I understood what she was doing. It was giving me very much New York fashion, very much rapper, 90s rapper, talking about like Naughty by Nature, giving me a lot of Method Man as well, with the beanie. And the gown she was wearing gave me almost like a homeless chic look. The beanie basically topped it off and sold that look basically. So essentially she looked like a righteous hood person, and she also looked like a sophisticated bum. And these are just some of the words I use to describe her look. No offense to anybody, that's just how I interpreted it. I'm not saying that hood people or people from hoods dressed like that, but it was a fashion theme at some point, especially during the rap game. A lot of New York rappers would have the beanies, so it's somewhat of an ode to that, and I understood the assignment, and I feel like she carried out the assignment, period. And so I have to say that she did like what she always does. It just did not translate to people. Perhaps it was the color, perhaps it was they didn't quite, maybe it looked underwhelming to some people, but to me, she understood the assignment. It was giving very much New York fashion, New York street fashion. And I might as well talk about her accompaniment. ASAP Rocky wore this very colorful quilt looking ensemble, under it of course he was wearing a suit, and to me it was kind of complementary to what Rihanna was wearing because it looked very much like homeless chic, um very homeless New York fashion, kind of street fashion. And when street in the literal sense, not street in terms of high end or in terms of luxury, but street in terms of poverty, street in terms of homelessness, street in terms of struggle. So the irony of what Rihanna and ASAP were wearing was that as high fashion as the Met Gala is, it shed a lot of light on a lot of societal ills and societal struggles to do with homelessness, and I wonder if people got that theme, because for a lot of people they're very quick to look at something and then just label it as, okay, this is not good, or I don't understand this, but they never take a second to really ponder on what it is these people are trying to capture within their fashion. Remember, this is not an ordinary event. This is an event for people to step out in fashions that are or cannot be worn on an everyday basis. This is high fashion, and a lot of regular people would never understand it because they never take time to understand it. But I completely understood what they were doing. People were likening ASAP Rocky's quilt to cereal, and yes, it did look a lot like cereal, but I understood it completely. And I have to shout out to them for that subtle hint at the ills or the negative side of living in America, which I believe is what they were portraying. Then we have Kim Kardashian, and Kim Kardashian was in all black, inclusive of her face. Her face was covered, her legs were covered. She was wearing this dress and it looked as if black tights underneath and this long ponytail, and it was giving me very much, people were saying that it looked like a shadow, or she looked like a shadow. People were saying that she looked like Kawanoshi from Spirited Away. But to me, she was just paying ode to Kanye West. We all remember Kanye West just dropped his album Donda. This was in memorial to his mom who passed away, and the album cover is all black. And also during the rollout of Donda, Kanye West was seen wearing a lot of black and covering up his face quite a lot. So I think what it symbolized for Kim was kind of paying homage to Kanye West's mom, paying homage to the album, and paying homage to her husband. So I think it was kind of a stance where she was becoming or showing us that she was in solidarity with her husband, and I think that it was a beautiful ode. I understood where she was coming from, and as far as what she was trying to do, to me, she pulled it off very nicely. Next we're gonna go to Natalia Bryant. Natalia Bryant is the daughter of the late, it's so crazy to say, the late Kobe Bryant, and her mom is Vanessa Bryant, and she was wearing this really kind of eccentric shaped gown. The gown was shaped somewhat like a ball, and it was just a very weird looking outfit. But what it did do was give me a lot of 70s flower girl vibes, the flower movement, where people were dressed in these colorful outfits, these colorful flowery outfits. And it was a time where people felt freedom was of utmost importance to them. Freedom from work, freedom from the day-to-day struggle or routine of life, just getting away from that, and her dress symbolized that to me. It looked fun. It looked like they took great pains to attach these appliques to her dress to give us this whole flower vibe, whole colorful vibe. Even the hair, the bump was giving me 70s fashion. So I understood what they were doing with that gown as well. And although it looked like a very awkward gown, I feel as if even down to the shoes, the platform shoes that were bright pink, it did what it was supposed to do. It conveyed the message that it was trying to convey, and props to Natalia Bryant for being brave enough to try something that is not considered conventionally attractive fashion, but I understood it 100%. And she looked good. I love the face, and I love the hair, I love the platforms. Everything came together nicely. Then I'm gonna speak a bit about Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish did an ode to Marilyn Monroe, to is it 60s, 70s glam. The hair was very much giving Marilyn Monroe, the color, the softness. But what I was not a big fan of, although I do understand, is the heavy dark eye. I understood it was to bring, attention to her eyes, because Billie has very light blue eyes. Her features are actually quite delicate. She has very light skin and very light eyes. So I understood what they were trying to do. However, I felt as if it seemed very harsh on her skin tone. Like it seemed as if it was too much, for the eye. But I do understand where they were going with that. And her gown was very I wouldn't call it sexy, more so sophisticated, more so very classy. Typical, looked like a ball gown, and I liked what she was doing with that. I liked it. The color of the gown looked very tan. It almost appeared that it was, camouflaging into her skin. And I think the only thing that really stood out was that harsh eyeliner that made people, I suppose, draw their attention to her eyes. And yes, she does have some very beautiful eyes. And then I want to say, last but not least, we're gonna talk a bit about Iman and her gown. And Iman's gown was very beautiful, very golden. It was giving me a lot of religious connotations, a lot of religious symbolism. Give me heavenly light. If you ever see an image of Jesus, you normally see that his head is kind of surrounded or semi-surrounded by light. And that is what the headpiece of Iman's gown was giving me. It was giving me light, And also she had this dress piece that was kind of looked a little bit deconstructed, and it was giving me volume, and it really tied very well into the whole theme of the gown, which was basically giving light, and I loved it. It was very pleasing to the eye, and I liked her gown. Her gown was probably the most beautiful gown that whole entire night. But anyways, you guys, that is what I think, and these are the people I chose to speak on as far as their fashions were concerned. Let me know what you think. Did you watch the Met Gala? Were you abreast to other different fashions? What are some of the fashions that you think were either very amazing or some concept that you didn't quite understand? Let me know in the comment section, and see you next time, you guys. Like and subscribe on the Ranting Shop. Bye.